Let me see. Nope, from that angle you can only see my tits. I don't know if I can make this any taller. That's fine, isn't it? Oh, if I get lipstick on my teeth, you have to tell me. You're obligated. I expect you to reach through the camera right now before I make a fool of myself. We have an agreement. Pinky, promise me right now. Don't let me get lipstick on my teeth on the internet. Oh no. I am caffeinated. My goodness. Can you hear the air conditioner in the other room? Psych, I don't care what the answer to that question is. I will not be turning it off. It is stupid hot. I just gave myself a haircut yesterday and I think it'll grow out to look fine, but right now I'm still kind of in that, like, I look kind of like a douchebag, but I don't care enough to put on a hat. I didn't even put on pants for you people. I'm not gonna put on a fucking hat. It's too warm for that. You know what I think is a great idea is if we just start so that we don't lose the natural light. Hello there, my parasocial pals, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Chloe Payne, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Today, I guess we're gonna talk about Don't Worry, Darling, but the, gosh, am I speaking way too loudly? I'm so sorry. I'm very caffeinated. Would you like to join me in taking a calm down, deep breath? This is fascinating content, isn't it? Subscribe for more. I wrote down notes. Why don't I refer to the notes that I wrote down? Yeah, I wasn't initially anticipating making this video, but the couple of factors that have aligned that have compelled me, inspired me, motivated me, if you will. It's currently Monday the 26th. I just finished a rather long and busy Monday shift at the work from home admin job, a 10-hour shift. And so I'm right in that sweet spot between very tired and also caffeinated. The two different states are converging. And the other really fun thing that has me on kind of a high today is, you know, I have this wee little baby YouTube channel that I'm having fun putting some more effort into recently. And today I got 3 new subscribers. I got 3 new subscribers in one day, and a couple of them actually left comments. An older video that I did months ago that I approached with exactly the same type of energy that I have right now, just in terms of like, fuck it, I have this on my mind and I might as well put it out there, message in a bottle style, see if anybody else relates to this. I would not expect anybody else out there to relate to the significance of like 3 subscribers in a day, a couple of comments in a day. Doesn't seem significant perhaps, but when you're only at, I think what, I had like 65 subscribers at the start of the day. So now I'm at 68, which by the way, only 1 subscriber away from 69. Nice. It's, today was just a particularly fun, you know, it was a long and busy Monday with the work day, the long shift, but it was also just a really lovely, uplifting, sort of like keep going, feeling encouraged moment in terms of like the YouTube energy of it all. That then also converged with the Don't Worry, Darling discourse continuing. I've been having fun following the silly drama of everything, you know, for the last couple months, and the Venice Film Festival memes and all the really excellent, like, you know, summarizing videos here on YouTube. That's been really fun, and I didn't really have any intention of seeing the movie until my one friend, the only person in my IRL day-to-day life who wasn't annoyed at me bringing up this movie. I texted Laura and said, so I don't know if you're familiar with all the drama that's been going on, but it kind of has me like morbidly curious to go see this movie. And we both happened to be off on opening day, the 23rd. Should we go? And Laura's response was not only to say, sure, let's go see a movie. Laura's response was to say,
what drama? Who? What? How drama? I am not aware of said drama.
So I've been getting to fill Laura in on the drama, and that's been very, very fun. Thank you, if you're watching this, Laura, for putting up with me and going on this crazy ride with me. Yeah, so we saw it on opening day in at a matinee, like a 1 p.m. show with like 8 other people in the theater. The vibes were immaculate. It was an enjoyable theater experience. I mean, I'll get into more of my, you know, thoughts on the actual film, but it was a perfectly enjoyable theater experience. Laura and I had fun exchanging memes for the rest of the weekend, and I fully intended to just leave it at that. I think separate and apart from the like internet discourse, the drama of it all, I think that the film itself would be continuing to linger in my burbling brain for a little bit, just because like it is one of those movies where like you can have a perfectly enjoyable theater experience watching it initially, initially, and then the longer that the movie sits with you, the more and more plot holes occur to you. I hadn't intended to sit and make a ramble video about this, but just something about the way the film has been like lingering in the recesses of my brain, and something about the way that I haven't yet watched any of the YouTube videos, commentaries, reviews, anything that anyone has posted yet, but just seeing them start to pop up in my recommends, and they're coming from creators that I already follow and that I admire so much, and I can't wait to hear what they have to say. And I think that before I jump in and let a whole bunch of different additional opinions start to color my experience of it, I want to let this be a little opportunity to like purge my own thoughts from my brain hole and get some closure on this experience. And then I think I'll have an easier time. Future editing Chloe, put some like screenshots here of like who those other videos are that I'm gonna be watching. Leave some recommendations below. Everybody go check out those other videos. I feel all buzzy and vibratey. So yeah, all that just to say, I'm feeling inspired. I think it would be fun to, a fun button for my busy, stressful work part of my Monday, and way to sort of commemorate for myself. I got 3 subscribers today, how fun. And a good way to like put a button on the ramble thoughts that have been continuing in my head about this fucking movie. For all those reasons, I think I just want to sit and ramble about this for a moment. What you can expect from this video, I'm gonna try to keep it brief.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
I have been having fun in learning more about editing, learning how to incorporate different clips of like media that I want to reference and talk about. That being said, I missed last week's upload because I had included some clips of copyrighted media, and I'm now in the midst of baby's first copyright dispute, so that's going well. So all that just to say, I am in another day and age, I might have put off making a video like this because I would have wanted to make it some closer, different version of like more professional or perfect or something by including clips and references to shit that I'm talking about. I doubt that I'll include any of that in this video because now I'm, you know, spooked by starting to learn about how to navigate you know, fair use and copyrighted materials being included in videos at all. So I anticipate that, like, if you're here, welcome. This is what the video is going to be. You have tuned into watching a caffeinated trans person ramble in front of their chalkboard wall. So thank you for coming along. I think we're gonna have a great time. I love watching shit like this on the internet. A big guiding principle of mine with my channel right now is when in doubt, just lean into making the type of content that I like to watch. And there is no end to the amount of joy that I get out of listening to nerds ramble about topics that they're passionate about. I'm gonna start by acknowledging some of the things that I did like. There were some good things about this movie. We're gonna start on a positive, then we're gonna get a little bit critical, we're gonna talk about some plot holes, we're gonna talk about some shitty choices, and then we're gonna end on a happy note by discussing the best fucking thing, which is Florence Pugh. All hail Florence Pugh. Definitely gonna tie that into like Midsummer. If you're a fan of Midsummer, I think that you'll enjoy this conversation. Unhinged girlies, unite. If you're here, I assume that you may have some familiarity with all the fucking drama that has been behind this movie in the last few months and leading up to the Venice Film Festival and all that shit. If you are not familiar with that or you would like a refresher, I will leave a link for my favorite video here on YouTube that did a really entertaining but also like accurate and like, you know, shows receipts and summarizes the chronological timeline really perfectly of everything that was this drama from its inception, how this movie got started, up to and including the Venice Film Festival. I'm not going to be talking a ton in this video about all the drama. This is primarily me rambling about the movie. Here's the warnings. Here's the warnings. Here are all of the warnings. Spoiler warnings. Certainly we are going to get into like the actual details of talking about the plot and the twist and all that shit. If you don't want to hear anything else that I have to say about anything having to do with spoiler warnings, before you click off of this video, be sure to like and subscribe. We're almost to 69 subscribers. Wouldn't that be fun if you get to be the 69th subscriber? Wouldn't that be fun? You could leave a comment and say, I had to leave because I didn't want the spoiler warnings, but gosh, Chloe, you seem charming, and I'm so glad that I subscribed, and I can't wait to watch and like everything that you ever make moving forward. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't you love to do that? Go for it. Take your time. Give you a moment here to keep on enjoying the video before you have to leave if you're not interested in spoilers. Ow. Alright, so is everybody here now? Still just the people who are here that are okay with spoilers. You've either seen the movie or you don't care about getting the movie spoiled, right? Right. Since we are going to be talking about the spoilers and what happens in this plot, this is also your moment for some content warnings. We're going to be talking about the aspects of the plot that involve sexual assault. It's pretty rapey, it's pretty physical abusey, it's pretty domestic abusey. If you need to tune out of the video here for avoiding any of those topics for your mental health, please take care of yourself. You know, again, you know, maybe if you need to avoid certain things because of, you know, taking care of your mental health and content warnings, but you also still want to support a small creator on the platform, you could just like turn the volume down really low on this video and like keep letting it play the whole rest of the way. But like, you know, don't watch anything that's gonna be upsetting for you. Has it been fun that I've been sort of hyperbolic over the top in this video about like encouraging you to support my channel, or am I coming off as obnoxious? If you think I'm obnoxious, comment below. Alright, so let's get into some of the shit about this movie that we like. The things that were good about this movie, the things that I genuinely enjoyed. Florence, obviously, we all knew that this was going to be a tour de force performance from her. There are going to be multiple times in this video when I'm going to be talking about the similarity between this and Midsommar. If you liked Midsommar, I think that you were able to see very easily from like the marketing and the trailers and, you know, some of the reviews of this movie that it's just kind of like basically like just a different take on a story kind of similar to Midsommar, and gives Florence a lot of like similar opportunities to shine. There were so many stellar performances. This was a stacked cast of supporting characters. Nick Kroll as, I don't remember any of the characters' names, but Nick Kroll in the role of the guy who is the most devoted, right? Really did the solid job of carrying this story in terms of you see how he is talking about the cult leader, being reverent towards the cult leader, and is shitty alpha male antagonistic to the people who criticize the cult leader. Nick Kroll is really the one who carries the weight for showing us, the audience, you know, you want to show, not tell as a filmmaker, right? At the same time as he was very charming and very likable and very like all-American, red-blooded male patriarch, he also was so subtly creepy in his reverence to the cult leader. And he was really the first indication that you have as an audience member watching this movie that like something is weird. As much as some of the overall things were bad about this story, they actually did a really good, I can credit the screenwriter, I'm sure, with the fact that like each supporting character was created very intentionally and successfully, I think, in like playing a very specific role. So Nick Kroll's function was to give the audience the first indication that like something is weird about this community and how everybody refers to the cult leader. Similarly, I thought that Kate Berlant, I had no idea that Kate Berlant was in this movie. Forgive me, I fear that I may be mispronouncing her name, Berlant or Berlant. I've never seen a lot of her work specifically that I can recall. I just know that she's one of those excellent like character actors who has done so much cool shit, and I've been hearing rumblings of the excellent one-woman show that she has going on in New York right now. And similarly to if Nick Kroll is one of the first indications that we have that like there's something weird about how the men in this community relate to or refer to the cult leader, Kate Berlant's character was very much the one who carried the weight of showing us some of the inner workings of the females, the wives of the community. She served the very important expositional function of we, the audience, / Florence Pugh's character. Well, no, that's the good thing about the writing, is Florence Pugh already had this information, and the Olivia Wilde character already had this information, but it was Kate Berlant's character who had to be the one to ask some of the prying questions about like, well, what happened to Margaret? And gosh, I didn't know that, oh my gosh, she took her little son out into the desert? I had no idea. And Kate was the one who had to not only do a believable job of asking those questions in a way that didn't just make it seem like, hello, I am here to be the exposition character. She also had to sell the threat that was issued when like, oh, I see, because of the way that that character is selling this, that like it's not safe to ask those questions. This is a community where it's not safe to ask questions. Kate Berlant, I think, really like nailed what she showed up to do. Who was the other guy that I was surprised to see? Fucking Douglas Smith. Did anybody watch Big Love? Any former Big Love fans out there? Anybody remember Ben? Man, I hope that Douglas Smith doesn't find himself getting terribly typecast, but I will say that he plays that like anxious, straight edge, incel, I'm so skinny and white and whiny, but I'm so upset about it and I just deserve to have things handed to me and to have women do things for me because I'm so upset about what an incel I am. I hope that he doesn't get typecast for, like, you know, the course of his career, but the only two things that I have seen him in are Big Love and this movie, where he brings a similar energy to both of those things. Separate and apart from the Big Love of it all, if you know, you know. Leave a comment below. Bill Henriksen for, what, governor or whatever the fuck that was? What a weird show. The way that Douglas Smith in the course of this movie, again, like everybody was really perfectly cast and written in their supporting roles to like flesh out what the world of this community is. Douglas Smith really did that excellent job of like being so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and earnest and young and ignorant about how all this crazy stuff goes, and oh gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ask that question that was going to upset everybody, and yes sir, Mr. Cult Leader, sir, I sure will. He was just so all-American and pure and wholehearted, and then also so terrifying when he turned and you saw his incel rage. He just did such a fabulous job of that. The last performance that I really wanted to call out from the supporting cast, Miss Gemma Chan. If Nick Kroll was the first time in the story that we can start to sort of see that there's something strange about how the men all interact here, Gemma Chan was the first indication that we have that it's not just the male cult leader that we have to be worried about. It's also this bitch, the first lady, who is here to have eyes on all of you at all times. She did such a statuesque job of managing the ballet studio scenes. She had a cane or a walking stick or something that she never got violent. She never got physically violent with anyone up until the very end, obviously. But the whole time that she was teaching, the time that she was running the studio and she was just holding her like staff or whatever that was, I wouldn't have been a bit surprised if she had just like knocked out some bitch's kneecap at any given time. She had so much stillness and so much power. She was absolutely terrifying. And she and Chris Pine together, I'm just not specifically singing the praises of Chris Pine because I feel like his role was pretty predictable and he just did what he showed up to do. It was perfectly well done and great, good for him. But like it doesn't, I feel like what Gemma had to do was more demanding and she really sold it. And the two of them were perfectly cast as like this very ominous, like leading lady and leading guy of this very creepy place. One of the other things that I did really love about the movie overall was it looked great in terms of the costuming and the production and the styling, the location. It was a beautiful looking movie. It was very watchable. My main takeaway from like what this whole movie has to offer is like it's a good theater experience. It's a good thing to watch with other people, partially because it's a great discussion topic and there are a lot of moments in it that are fun to react to live with other people, but also just because it's eminently watchable, even as there are parts of the plot that fall apart and even as there are parts of the story that drag or parts of it that like you feel critical about. The whole movie is very easy to sit and just like let wash over you because the look of it, the world building of it, the styling of it, it is luxurious looking. There's a lot of like food imagery that is very interesting, that like we get to see a lot of really beautiful food being prepared. They did a fun job, I thought, one of the framing devices of like how she makes the breakfast every morning and there's the bacon sizzling and the eggs cracking and the coffee getting poured. It just made everything feel really luscious. Everything felt, you were really pulled in just by like the look of the movie in terms of like how gorgeous it was, like all enveloping, all encompassing. It was it looked really good. It was styled very well. And we are getting to the end of the positive things that I had to say. You know what was one specific detail that I really loved about the twist, the revelation of what the world is when they were showing us shitty, evil incel Harry Styles and how he sort of like got set up in this world. I loved the detail that he got to choose to be British. I wouldn't be surprised if that detail was just one that they obviously did to like cater the role more to Harry Styles once he was cast. But regardless of whether that's the case, I love that detail either way. I love that that if it were an American actor or a non-British person who had been cast in the role of Harry Styles, and then the detail were still in place just because it was originally in the script, that the actual character in the real world is a shitty incel American greaseball who just thinks that British people are really classy, so in his fantasy he wants to choose to be British. I love it if that's the detail, or I love it if the detail is that originally there was everyone cast in the movie was to be American. They ended up casting Harry Styles, and so they retconned it by including the detail that like, oh, it's he got to choose to be British. It makes sense this way. See? That either way, it really makes me laugh. I like that detail a lot. I like it as either as a desperate retcon or as a detail that they intentionally included for the character. It makes me smile. Oh, and the one last thing that was a really fun detail, Dita Von Teese is the burlesque person in the movie. I remember one of the trailers showing that there was going to be a burlesque person dancing in a great big champagne glass, but I was surprised to realize that it was Dita Von Teese, and she did a fabulous job. The movie just overall was mediocre. It just like wasn't that great, and it wasn't that bad. I feel like everybody who has been comparing it to Black Mirror, right on the money. I feel like the movie was so clearly padded with vibes. This was like, could have just been a spec script for like a Black Mirror episode that, you know, with commercials or something, could have been like just 45 minutes of like scripted dialogue or like action on the page. And then Olivia Wilde came along and just tried to pad it out into being a feature-length film with just vibes. The very dialogue-heavy scenes, and then 10 minutes of Alice being paranoid about something. 7 minutes of a scene, and then 10 more minutes of Alice. I wonder how intentional it is that so much of it was just like the vibes, the like long stretches of time where there was little to no dialogue, and instead just the inner workings of the mind of Florence Pugh's character going through things that we, the audience, aren't sure whether they are literally happening or we are just being shown like symbolic representations of her losing her mind or remembering things from her other life. Or it feels like a Black Mirror episode that they were then all of a sudden told, oh no, guys, it's supposed to be an hour and a half long. It's supposed to be an hour and a half long. We need more. Vamp! And they just like added a bunch of, you know, because like the story on its face is a pretty, not thin, not bad story, but like, you know, predictable. We could all pretty much see it coming from the bat that like, you know, this is like a fake, insulated, controlled place. Whether the twist was ever going to be that, you know, it's that they're in this place that is set in a 1950s-esque era, but it's actually present day. Yeah, that was pretty clear. Or it was going to be that, like, you know, there's something harrowing about what the cult leader is doing and what all the guys are actually doing when they say they're going off to work at the Victory plant. Like, yeah, we know. Like, the twist was never about, oh my gosh, I can't believe Victory isn't a literal place that is set in the location and time in which we literally expect it to be placed. The twist was only ever going to be the details of that reveal, the details of that explanation of what the world actually is and why these people are actually trapped here. The fact that it was so just very clearly broken up chunks of, here's about 10 minutes of dialogue, and then here's some very light fake sex for like 6 minutes, and then here's like 2 minutes of dialogue, and then here's like 6 minutes of Alice maybe having a hallucination. Like, so much of it, especially towards the end, was just vibes, was just like, you know, images, music, things that you can't tell whether or not they're just in Florence's head. And the overall shape of that in terms of like when you walk out and you're like, well, what actually was even like scripted? What actually even was like part of the like story? It's just a little thin. It's just a little thin. It's not a terrible movie. It's not a great movie. And the best thing that I can say about this is that it is a theater experience. We had a lot of fun being in our matinee showing of like, you know, 10 people total. For everyone to get to laugh at the outrageous things, and when she's running, oh man, she's running, and for everybody in the theater to be like, go, 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 they're climbing up on the rocks after you now, you have to keep going. Like, everyone was on the edge of their seat at the end. When the lights went down, when the credits rolled, everybody in the theater had that same moment of like, what the fuck did we just watch? When we were all like, you know, strolling out of the theater and like heading to the restroom after, like, it's that nice fellowship of sharing a screening together, or like a theatrical experience together, right? That like you're buddies with everybody for that 5 minutes that everybody is like, you know, throwing away their old buckets of popcorn and like going to the bathroom of just like, did you guys also just come out of Don't Worry Darling? What the hell was that? You know, it's a good bonding theatrical experience, kind of a mediocre movie. You know, in terms of the plot twist being like pretty easy to see coming, I think that one thing that is valid to criticize about the plot twist was just, it was so fucking like sad. Not sad in an enjoyable, cathartic way of seeing a movie and, you know, having like a shared experience of tragedy. It was sad just in terms of being very grim and very demoralizing. Here, I'm gonna include one more spoiler warning right now. I wanted to see if I could talk around this, but they're two movies that just so warrant direct comparison here, I think. If you don't already know the M. Night Shyamalan movie that I'm about to bring up, and you care about the possibility that I'm about to spoil an old M. Night Shyamalan movie for you, then here is your spoiler warning. So if you care, again, hit like and subscribe, but leave the video, keep watching at your own risk. So, The Village, obviously, right? Perhaps I'm just too influenced by movies like The Village, but I like when a twist like this, a reveal like this, involves something physical that the characters have to overcome. I will never forget the moment of watching The Village and she emerges out onto an actual like physical paved asphalt road. Just even the fact that like she had so much physical encumberment to overcome in terms of being in that forest and having to work through, you know, the obstacles of being in a forest surrounded by trees and shit. It was disappointing to me already that this movie, Don't Worry Darling, had the twist be so much about fucking cyberspace. Again, maybe I'm just like too nostalgic about movies like The Village and too jaded and tired of concepts like Black Mirror. I get it. The technology is coming for us. We're all gonna be the victims of the technology. I'm just a little tired of that storyline at this point, and I was instead really looking forward to and expecting the turning point of this movie to be something about Florence finding a physical thing. I won't bother including a spoiler warning before I mention this now. The Truman Show is another perfect example of, for me, one of the most thrilling parts of The Truman Show was him actually getting to where the physical barriers of the fake manufactured place stopped, right? Like there's a beginning and an end to this physical world, and part of what you have to overcome if you're in The Village is you have to make it through the woods and get to the asphalt road. Part of what you have to overcome if you're in The Truman Show is you have to find a boat and get out to the ocean and then like find the stairs at the end of the ocean. It was disappointing to me. Like I had such an eye roll when the obstacle in the twist was that it's just like cyber, that it's all in her head and she's just sitting on a bed. Her actual body is just in her own apartment on her bed, but she's trapped in her mind. It's all in your mind, man. Do you ever stop and think about like what virtual reality is doing to us?
Think about it.
Like, great. See, and it's not just that like the snobbish film critic in my brain is comparing it to other movies where I feel like the twist involved something that had like a more physical manifestation to overcome. It's also that this was so grim. This was so grim. Like the fact that there was no physical obstacle for her to overcome, that it was just that she was literally trapped in her own head, trapped in her own body, combined with the fact that the thing that had trapped her in her own mind and her own body in the first place was fucking greasy-haired, cosplay incel Harry Styles, like the fact that it was that energy, that like, you know, dark, violent, oppressive rape culture shit that came for her and trapped her like that. It was so grim. It was so grim. The fact that there was no like physical escape for her meant that there was really no catharsis for me. She started to scratch through and like figure out some of the shit that Margaret was figuring out, and they brainwashed her, they trapped her in, they brainwashed her again, and they start to put her back. And then when she finally kills Harry Styles and she's trying to escape, the best parts of the escape, some of the best parts of the whole movie were her just terrorized foot race, right? Her driving that fucking car in her bare ass feet, and then her car breaks down and now it's just a foot race for her life, right? Like that's the most thrilling part of the whole movie. It's the climax. We've been building up to this thing, and then the fact that it doesn't actually culminate in any type of like physical release that we get to see. Maybe I'm just being too rambly about also pointing out that I didn't like that this movie had a rather ambiguous ending. I didn't want it to just be a like suggestive image of real life Florence like dancing in her apartment in her yellow sweater. I didn't want it to just be that we like hear her gasp as I guess she's waking up from her coma and then cut to the credits. I wanted some sort of, I wanted to see Victory blown up. I wanted to see some sort of assurance that like Victory had for sure been toppled, that like there's no chance that Victory can continue. And I wanted there to be actual like visible confirmation that Florence wakes up, is okay, is physically okay. Like she's been fucking chained to that bed for God knows how long. She might not be able to get up and walk around. For all I know, she's gonna die in that fucking apartment. Am I overthinking this? Maybe. But for the fact that the movie put me through the really just grim, unsavory, cynical, depressing version of the twist that was, it's not just that there's like a oasis that they built in this desert and she doesn't know that like Los Angeles is just on the other side of the mountain. It's not just that like there's a ozone layer type bubble that is like keeping them here, and if she can just break physically through the barrier of the bubble then she'll be physically where she wants to be. It's that it's all in her head, and she was trapped in her head by some of the nasty, grim, depressing forces that we have around us in this real world. If the movie was going to put me through that type of like real just nasty cynicism, then I wanted there to be a victorious catharsis at the end, and there really wasn't. Like they just used the Joe Rogan type podcast cult leader incel vibes element of it for shock value, and I didn't appreciate that. I just thought that it was a weak choice. I thought it was a weak story writing choice, and I didn't think that they stuck the landing with it. If they were gonna put me through all of that shit, then I feel like they should have also let me enjoy the literal catharsis at the end. You know, some of those men were still left behind in Victory. How do we know that they're not gonna manage to keep it going? The Olivia Wilde character likes Victory the way that it is, and she and her husband are still there, so how do we know that they're not gonna somehow find a way to keep it going? We got to have the hell yeah girl moment of Gemma Chan stabbing Chris Pine, but for all we know, that's just because she wants to take over. That's just because she wants to run Victory now the way that she thinks Victory should be run. We didn't actually get to see the downfall of Victory. And if they were going to put me through all that shit, I expect no less than the actual downfall of Victory. So that was disappointing. Let us jump into some of the plot holes that didn't necessarily occur to me at the time in the big fight right before Florence Pugh kills him. I think that he has one line where he says, He has one line where he says something like,
I have to leave here every day to go out there and make the money to support us being in this place, and I hate it. I hate doing that.
So they want me to believe that like when the men leave for work every day to go work at the Victory plant or whatever, Harry Styles is unplugging. He unplugs from Victory and leaves the IRL apartment and goes to put in a quick shift at like 7-Eleven to make just enough money to pay like for the rent of like the places where their bodies are held. Like they still need like a regular home and income in the IRL. And they want us, the audience, to think, is that supposed to be a statement about how very dumb these men are, that they got suckered by that? The thing that they like kidnapped and abused their women for isn't even permanent escape. isn't even an actual physical escape to like come live on, you know, Joe Rogan's Dude Ranch in the middle of Patriarchy Plus. It's not even like come live on a little island in the middle of nowhere where we will be a sovereign nation of assholes. It's just a cyber escape. This is the other stupid thing about having it be a cyber thing. What was the point of having it be a cyber thing? Why couldn't it just be a physical location? Because then the stakes are so much higher because the men have so much more to defend and they have so much more capability to defend it. The fact that it was all able to be broken by just one woman waking up and going to the headquarters and just waking herself up, that like ruined everything. I'm rambling. The only thing that I meant to say there in terms of it being a plot hole was just, so Harry Styles incel has to like go put in a shift at like the 7-Eleven, and for that he sold his soul and kidnapped Florence Pugh. That's shitty. I don't know if it's necessarily a plot hole, but is that written that way to make me think that all these men who did this are very, very stupid, or is it a shitty piece of writing? Because it's not, that doesn't seem like a lucrative enough deal to like sell your soul and kidnap your wife over. The red plane. When the red plane crashed, was it a real red plane of some kind? Or were they just doing some really heavy-handed fucking, like, use of the color red? Again, talk about fucking M. Night Shyamalan. If you haven't ever gone back and rewatched The Sixth Sense, paying attention to all the instances of the color red. It can be heavy-handed sometimes. In this movie, in Don't Worry, Darling, when Florence sees the red plane crash over the mountain, and that's the first thing that she follows out into the desert that leads her to finding the headquarters. Do we think that that was like some sort of a physical manifestation of like something in the physical IRL world, like going wrong, waking up, a glitch in the technology that was keeping her asleep or something like that? Or is red just meant to like symbolize like her memories trying to like come through and wake her up, her subconscious pushing through, pushing against the conditioning? But then it's messy use of red as symbolism, because wouldn't the red plane be a good thing if it's something that is like helping her push through and break through, and it's the first thing that like wakes her up and like gets her out into the desert? But the heavy-handed thing of how like all the handlers who, you know, come and physically take her away and who are chasing her down in the big showdown at the end, they're all in red. What are some of the other big uses in this movie of like heavy-handed, the color red? I hadn't thought about that until this moment. The headquarters. Is the headquarters like just supposed to be some like artistic manifestation of like waking up, or like, yeah, your subconscious pushing against the conditioning? Or so Florence runs up and like she puts her hands on it and the red thing happens. Oh, there's another use of the color red. That can't be like some sort of actual representation of the physical place where all the data lives, where like all of their memory banks are stored or whatever. Really, the main thing that I want to point out here in terms of it being a plot hole is like, if I were designing a prison for all my lady slaves and I had supposedly the ability to like design every aspect of what that geography looks like and what their little town looks like, why in the world did they program for there to be a headquarters there that any of these bitches could just walk up to? And again, just how so much of this movie relied on like vibes as opposed to coming up with answers and like writing dialogue or exposition or even some show don't tell about like what the answers are. If it's a cyber world, if it's an imaginary world, you owe your audience an explanation about like how the world works. Is the headquarters a physical building that she walked up to with her actual little barefoot legs? If it's just a mental representation, surely the doctors who programmed all this, the like whatever fucking programmers who put this little world together, surely they would have an option to just think to themselves,
oh wait, boss, it just occurred to me, you know what we should probably not do is have there be a visual manifestation in Victory of like the place where the women can all walk up to whenever they're ready to face their subconscious and escape. Should I take that out?
I don't understand. It's getting dark. How about I'll go to the bathroom and turn on some lights and we'll resume. How is that lighting? It's lighting. I'm slightly more visible now than I was before. We'll take it. Was there anything else I really had to complain about? Oh, you know what was a really shitty plot detail that it was just, why did they do that? So all throughout the first part of the movie, Florence's character has this song stuck in her head. and that's part of what she can't remember. That's part of what we know is going to be tied to her breaking through eventually. The fact that her ultimate, like, breakdown, like, trauma breakthrough, I now remember everything, the fact that that revelation was brought on by Harry Styles being the one to fucking hum that song just absent-mindedly. I'm sure that he was given very clear instruction about, like, you can't make references to things in your guys' before times IRL life that might remind her. You can't make references to things that might jog her memory. Am I supposed to believe that that character was so much a dunce that he hummed the song that is what made her remember everything and break through, and he just didn't know that that was going to happen? And is that the only way that the movie could have come up with for her to have her breakthrough? Why was that the only thing that they could come up with for how that happened? My God. Ugh. The fact that Harry Styles had that fucking tap dancing scene, it felt like the plot device that was Harry Styles tap dancing on the stage for 20 goddamn minutes was just the excuse for Florence Pugh and Olivia Wilde to be able to talk privately in the bathroom while every other fucking citizen was out in the ballroom watching Harry Styles tap dance for 11 years. They really couldn't come up with any other narrative explanation, so Harry Styles, vamp! Vamp! You gotta keep playing, kid! And the piano player, the whole symphony just like won't let him stop because the like Cab Calloway in charge of the symphony knows that Florence Pugh isn't done talking to Olivia Wilde in the bathroom, so he's keeping, no, just another 8 bars, spin again! That's what it felt like. It didn't make any sense why he just burst out into dancing like that. To end on a positive note, again, Florence Pugh, tour de force, chef's kiss, roses, bravissimo, bravissimo. If the allegations are true that she was basically stepping in as the director in the times on set when Olivia was not present or too unprofessional, then that's fucking impressive. And I wonder if she has any interest in directing. The last thing that I was really left thinking about in terms of Florence with this movie is, you know, this storyline of Alice in Don't Worry Darling and the storyline of Danny in Midsummer. Both of these characters played by Florence Pugh. They're not terribly dissimilar. It's like, you know, unhinged girly gets gaslit by asshole men in cult-like settings for 2 hours until then they bust out and all the men die and she's the final girl left standing, even if she's traumatized and barely survived the ordeal. I don't know if she is a fan of horror. I don't know how she feels with being associated with horror and being kind of like a final girl. I wonder if she has some affinity for that. If, hear me out, what if she does one more unhinged, girly, Rage Against the World feminist horror movie or suspense movie type film, and we then, the fans, end up with a trilogy. Can't you picture, can't you envision like a fucking film house, like an Alamo or you know, a dingy Portland like McMiniman's Independent Theater? Can't you picture somebody putting up on the marquee the Florence Pugh Unhinged Girl Boss Terror Trilogy Night? And, you know, you pay like $30 to be able to see all 3 films in succession. It ends on Midsummer because obviously Midsummer is the peak of whatever these 3 films would be, so you have to save the best for last. The first movie of the trilogy, the first movie of, like, if you're emceeing, if you're doing the like organization for what the movie fest is, it's that the first movie is whatever this uncreated yet, you know, the future. The third movie would be the one that you show first in the night. And then the second one would be Don't Worry Darling, because then it'll get everybody's spirits up as they're sagging in energy, you know, throw popcorn at the movie. Or it could just be when people who don't care about that fucking movie get to go take a dinner break and get a slice of pizza and, you know, refill their flasks to come back. And then you end with Midsummer, the director's cut. I would do anything for that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Movie theaters make me so happy. All right, with that, we must stop talking. If you've watched this long, you must have enjoyed something. So I hope that you'll hit the like button, subscribe. We're trying to work our way towards that first 100 subscribers here on the channel. And I'm having so much fun. If you enjoy mediocre pictures on Instagram or the cool misadventures of a cool 36-year-old cool kid on TikTok, or gay memes and rambles on Tumblr, then I hope that you will come hang out with me on whatever your social media location of choice is. I am at ChloeThePayne on all the things. And in particular, I do recommend that you come hang out on Tumblr. If you go to my blog and just do a search in my blog, search option for Don't Worry Darling, I've tagged all the shit that I've been reposting there. On my page in particular, I happen to think that I've curated a fine collection of only the dankest memes and hottest takes. So I highly recommend that you come check it out if you're at all interested. Jump into the comments below to let me know how you feel about all this shit. Are you someone who did see the movie and you enjoyed it, or you didn't enjoy it? Is there anything that you think I missed here in terms of some of the good things about it, or some of the terrible things about it that you think I overlooked? Oh, fuck. In each of the last few videos that I've been doing, I keep forgetting to figure out how to like make an end card. So just in case I forget again how to actually like figure out how to do a dedicated end card, I do want to just verbally shout out my patrons. I have 2 patrons on my Patreon so far, and it's a thrilling fucking time to be alive. Shout out to Hiker Steve and Cherry That Tomato. And my apologies if so far I have just straight up been not delivering on the patron perk, the tier that says that you will have your name listed in the credits at the end of the video. I'm still figuring out how to do that. Can't wait to make it more official. If you would also like to have possibly poorly delivered promises in the form of my Patreon perks, you can check out my Patreon. Ooh, that's the other thing that I forgot to say is I upload new videos every Wednesday/Thursday. Does everybody remember when Jenna Marbles used to say that? That's why I'm gonna start saying it. And other than that, just thank you so much for being with me during this time. It's been an absolute delight, and I hope that you are having a good time wherever you are, whatever you are doing. I hope that you do not have lipstick on your teeth, and that you feel okay about your haircut. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you next time. Everybody take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Oh, and maybe this is an end card. End card! End card! Look at that link. Look at this link. Look at all the links. Click on all the things and watch some more videos. I'm gonna crash so fucking hard. I'm gonna be in bed immediately.